This is an important message from the Civil Defense Authority Emergency Systems. All citizens are instructed to return to their residence and shelter in place until further notice. Turn to your emergency broadcast station on your television, radio, or internet device to receive further instruction. I repeat, you are currently under a shelter-in-place order. Return to your home if able, or seek shelter immediately. Lodges of any kind are instructed not to turn away anyone seeking shelter. Individuals who are found to be in violation of the shelter-in-place order could face fines or jail. This has been an instruction from your Civil Defense Authority. Further instruction will follow this message on your emergency broadcast networks. Thank you. This message will repeat.
Okay, are we back? I think we are. Okay, yeah, again, I am sorry for the casual way we've been doing this reporting session. It's important just to get this information out and let everybody know exactly what's going on in their area. And as you can imagine, the information machine of various forms and fashion, from faxes to emails to phone calls, are coming in very consistently. I have somebody literally handing me papers left and right here. I am trying to sort through some of this stuff the best I can to get you the information and limited breaks so that we can get it to you in a way that is useful. Okay, so this is just in. Reports are saying along the lines of, and I don't know how to, none of this, or most of this information is not confirmed, it's just what we're getting, that London has fallen. The word was that the main hospital in London, St. George, that's a hospital that specializes in difficult and usually the most serious contagions ever reported, that the staff had fled the building earlier today after multiple attacks in an emergency room and also in other areas of the hospital. This started late last night, that somehow a large group of infected were able to enter the structure. We're not getting the full information of how that's happening, and most of this is just it's quick communication, just getting information out to people. So to even confirm it right now is impossible. But basically, that what we're saying is they were able. What we're being told is they entered the building, and at which point chaos basically ensued. Police, rescue, many different areas came to basically clear out the building, and much of them were left running for a way of escaping the building, or in some cases the entire area. Any form of contacting the hospital has failed. So again, we cannot confirm or deny any of the information we're having here, but that is what we have, and that leaves the largest treatment area of anything, at least in the London area, completely down. And it's possible that police are simply not available to deal with the situation. So what we're seeing here is the last word was police were surrounding the hospital and were unable to contain the sick. This comes on the heel of another that came in early and said Buckingham Palace was completely locked down. I'm being told that came in just moments before the event. That at this point the palace is surrounded by military troops of some kind. The Palace of Westminster followed suit shortly after. And unfortunately, the information we're getting on all of this right now is sparse at best. But we're gonna have to just have to keep with you. And I think maybe there'll come a point when it's basically damage control, that it's important more for us to say, this is something that wasn't accurate afterwards, or just to give you the premise that, we know what we know right now, and that's what we know. What we do know is there is a stay-at-home order. It began here in the States, in the U.S. We expected a federal lockdown to follow. That is going to be shortly, if not already happening now. We just haven't gotten the news on it. That was pretty much a guarantee. But we do know that National Guard troops have begun in different areas and engaging on a location-to-location search in literally every major city at this point. We heard definitive reports from Boston, New York, Chicago. And if there is a big building, the National Guard has already started to try to enter these structures, house to house in some cases, to make sure that there are no infected individuals. This came on the heels of a report yesterday that there are people within their own houses, that the houses are simply locked. People are visiting the houses. When they open the door, they find that the families are dead inside, and they are actually, some of them are, these infected are attacking them at their doorway. And then entire families have been wiped out in afternoons. Coming from inside of their house is kind of a horrifying thought process, but that is where we are right now. So if you are aware of any kind of sickness that you have, I think it's important at this point to do something shelter-wise, or some way of getting some kind of medical condition. The Civil Defense has set up shelters. We don't know the full details on many of those shelters. There's also National Guard shelters that some have been reporting to and doing their best to get the information out as best they can. We don't know the full detail of that. We've been requesting shelter locations for a while now, and we have not gotten any, but we're hoping that we're going to get something soon. Again, it'll be some sort of National Guard situation that is more mobile. What that entails, we don't know. So the National Guard was coordinated in the early morning hours, and although local law enforcement informed media of the situation, little information is coming from the troops themselves when asked to report on the situation. The responses we heard were basically that they're just very busy right now, which isn't shocking, but many people would like to have a report on what is going on, how they're going on. I'm sure if you have somebody break into your house in the morning, you're not very happy about it, even if you find out that that's the National Guard that's trying to find out what's going on. And we don't know the full situation of how they're transpiring with the situation. We don't know how they're doing it, what the process is. We had heard earlier that there was some success in some of these tactics, but some have just basically said that they're strong-armed, and that if something happens, open your door, let them in, because the option is to break down doors, and that they have breach ability. We don't know where that is. Again, none of this has been confirmed. We've asked them to confirm it. We've got nothing back. So this all happened. There was a federal ban that came in, like I said yesterday, that had already been voted on, that harboring the sick or ill was passed in Congress, and that was rushed through approval. There was a state level bill in many areas that had passed, especially like New York had one. I don't know if many other places, but some had already gone and moved on to saying that harboring sick or ill was not legal anymore, that anyone who was sick or infected needed to be given to shelters or reported for pickup of some kind. But the law basically states that if you harbor anyone that is believed to be sick or a threat to others due to their illness, and do not submit them to a hospital or shelter, that you could face immediate arrest. How many have been arrested on that, we don't know. But we do know the National Guard has, from the word that I was hearing earlier, they have, I'm going to say, met resistance. And with the current situation, it's very difficult to kind of deduce what that means. Does that mean that they've met resistance as in people don't want to have their houses searched, or if they met resistance in these areas where the entire house has been infected by the this illness in some way. We don't know. So this law did have a clause that seemed to direct itself to the current illness, but it was not clear how this. They indicated that the sunset clause would enact. There was a couple of other situations where there was a lot of redacted information on at least the House floor, that of information of where they were taking steps to do things and that money was being allocated, but where that allocation went, again, was considered top secret information. So honestly, we don't have time to read the law itself to go over it. We're going to give it over to our legal advisors who are going to let us know, and then we're going to pass on anything to you to let you know. But for right now, just come under the impasse that harboring sick is considered illegal, and that if you have anyone who has that illness, to get in touch with a shelter or an area to basically pick them up or deal with the situation. We expect that a few states that have not called for it yet will be calling for a state of emergency. Much of the East Coast, except for South Carolina, have enacted one, and word is the president has already instructed National Guard to go into action. We're being told right now as well that we had some issues, obviously, with London, how the U.S. government was functioning, were they taking any steps, and they had said at this time that they are not, that today was pretty much business as usual. How that's going to change in the near future, if it's changing right now, we're just going to have to keep you updated. And so, you can see here, the news is coming in, it's pretty steadily running and coming in to us at this time. We're getting reports constantly of random attacks, which at this point, that's pretty much forgotten text now. If we see something like that, it's almost ignored. It's a given that people are being attacked, and it was quickly linked back to this pathogen. The idea that the sick have gone after people. So if you see somebody that you believe is ill, avoidance is necessary. I think at this point, that's pretty much a given. So if you don't know that yet, it's time to understand that if somebody is sick or ill, that you don't want to go near them. We do not understand the true way that this illness is transmitted. We do understand that we've been told that bites and scratches may be a causality, but there are people who are being infected that we don't understand. They have not been subjected to attacks of any kind, and have somehow become ill or sick. And even some of that is, again, hearsay. So it shouldn't come as much as a shock, but right now missing person reports are on the rise in a big way. If you live in a big city like New York or Boston, you've no doubt seen the posters literally on every street corner. Chicago, we were being told you could literally pave the street with them. Many flying around uncontrolled as they're stuck to each other and they become unstuck. And there's simply, everyone we talked to about that was hanging some hope said there's simply no officers to address these missing persons reports right now, that they're just getting inundated by calls again. Some lines are going down, that they're just not able to address the situation in a cohesive way. So there's no telling if they are infected or what has happened to people, simply knowing that people are missing loved ones and they're missing. City officials and citizens alike were advised again to stay in groups just so that you can avoid areas, especially areas that have no escape route. Any way to report that if somebody has been attacked, that going it alone at this point should not be an option anymore. The subways, we were being told in many areas, were almost empty. Some people had posted videos of attacks in stations. Those videos were taken down due to their I'm going to use the word gruesome nature. Some have tried to repost these. Again, they're being removed because they definitely go against any sort of public policies I'm going to use the word decency. So we are receiving information right now from various sources that has stated clearly now here we go. This is something we've seen before, that people are dying and somehow being reanimated. So this is one that I just read real quick here. We were told not to continue announcing that information, but we're seeing it everywhere. I think it's imperative at this point to really get this out. What's being called a snap by many prominent physicians is that the time when the person dies and suddenly snaps and gets up and attacks anyone around them. That reports were that in some cases patients were considered flatlined and shortly thereafter or identified as being deceased or reported as dead, just got back up. CDC here, another attached piece to this too. CDC, we're being told to instruct you that CDC maintains that this is just not true, that is a biological system that is taking place, and that, as you know, it's impossible for the dead to return to life. That hasn't stopped numerous reports to the contrary, and it's frightening to say the least. We really need to get someone in here to advise on this, Ted. Do you have somebody? I want some kind of doctor or something to come in here and just get some information to us. I'm sure this is frightening for me as well as the staff and the people who are listening to us right now, and I think a lot of people at this point just want some kind of system to cover us. And I mean, that's all we've dealt with today. These break-ins, these broadcasts from the emergency alert system continue to break in and tell us this information that I think at this point we're very aware that there's an emergency going on. We try to shut it down early, but it's not controlled by our agency, meaning it's going to jump in at random times. So if we're getting an interruption, we apologize. We do get sometimes a warning that it's coming, but we can't stop it. And I'll try and stop the information when it happens, but we're going to try and get it stopped because these people are out here. You guys want to know what the information is, and I want to get it out to you. So I just want to make everybody aware that these are happening without our control. So I'm sorry about that. And this is the problem with this incident here is that it is very dynamic. That it's an ever-changing landscape right now that we continue to get information. Okay, what is this? Okay, I got this here. We're hearing that local sheriffs in many states, especially Middle America, have ignored orders from federal agencies to hire militias and civil personnel to combat the ongoing situation. One sheriff who was told directly he would lose his job if he were to follow by doing so, sent a message back that simply read, "Better dead than Zed." So I am understanding that the word Z is applying to something else, and it's what we just reported shortly ago, that many sheriffs, many police officers of any type, many of the first responders, those out there who are taking action, believe that they are in some sort of fight right now. And it's becoming something that I'm a little bit frightened. I think that a lot of scientists are frightened to understand that this situation, people taking action of themselves, may get people in more trouble than it may not help the situation to resolve. It may exacerbate the problem much worse. But I am not, nor are any of us here, going to qualify a position to advise. We can just relay the information that we receive from National Guard, from federal agencies. There's a lot of back and forth and a lot of arguing. And okay, hold on here. I really think we need to read this. Is this true? This is horrifying. Okay, so to explain this real quick, this is what's called an ROE, what military individuals call the rules of engagement. They are instructed. This is how they are instructed on how to deal with orders they receive, or supplemental orders in certain situations, such as when to engage the enemy, how to engage the enemy, etc. So I just want to cut to it. The memo stated, and I'm reading directly from this memo. National Guard instructions are to shoot to kill immediately and without hesitation anyone you are aware to have been bitten by an infected individual. So anyone that has been bitten by a sick person infected by what is being called here the PACE virus has instructions to shoot to kill. And the information here reads, so a shot to the head or any upper area, or to sever anything that severs the spinal cord. This is crazy. This was apparently what I'm reading here was a leaked document that they're assuming that it was originally supposed to say top secret, but in some form of miscommunication, it was transmitted by a fax to report agencies that related to everyone, which is literally how we got it. So we're not the only ones that got this. Everybody got this. Okay, here comes another warning real quick. We'll be right back.
This is an important message from the Civil Defense Authority Emergency Systems. All citizens are instructed to return to their residence and shelter in place until further notice. Turn to your emergency broadcast station on your television, radio, or internet device to receive further instruction. I repeat, you are currently under a shelter-in-place order. Return to your home if able, or seek shelter immediately. Lodges of any kind are instructed not to turn away anyone seeking shelter. Individuals who are found to be in violation of the shelter-in-place order could face fines or jail. This has been an instruction from your Civil Defense Authority. Further instruction will follow this message on your emergency broadcast networks. Thank you. This message will repeat.